Hello and welcome to Aviation Audio Video on the Road. I'm Tom Rinker and I'm here at the first annual Flying Magazine Aviation Expo, waiting for the influx of aviators, enthusiasts, and the people who love them to enter the exhibit hall. What strikes me about this show in particular is that there's something for everyone, from state-of-the-art aircraft and equipment to exotic cars to cool jewelry. This show will most likely keep your attention throughout its 3 days of fun. And so I'll wander the exhibits, check out the seminars and workshop sessions, and try to capture the most interesting and new offerings I can find. Now yesterday was the Parade of Planes, which is definitely a showstopper. A huge crowd was on hand to see and hear the arrival of several dozen unique aircraft. I have to say, there's something about an Eclipse 550 roaring down a city street to create a sensation, if not in the mind, certainly in the chest. I was able to catch up with some of them after they parked next to the convention hall. The CTLS is a light sport aircraft with all the pizzazz of a full-sized airplane. I talked with Kenny Shirato at Flight Designs West and asked him all about the sophisticated avionics package on board.
And it has a built-in autopilot in it, and you have a separate comm radio system, and you have a 796 Garmin GPS mounted in the center panel.
Ron Casero entered the conversation to tell me more about the angle of attack indicator and other important features built right in when you order one for yourself.
Here it is right here. As you lose airspeed, it'll go yellow, yellow, red, and have a series of beeps. The faster the beeps, the closer you are to a stall. This is synthetic vision here too. And so here's your airspeed, here's your altitude, and your rate of climb or descent. And here it shows your density altitude, your ground speed. It'll show your true airspeed, and this is your wind direction and velocity and outside air temperature. This is the sky view over here. It shows your proximity to mountains. You see we're below the mountains right here.
How's this plane going to handle the ADS-B requirement?
It already has ADS-B out, and the new ones are coming already with ADS-B installed. So it already has that capability. This also has traffic now without ADS-B. It'll capture a specific rate and at an altitude or descent. And, it's a blast of fun.
Then I ran into a guy I recognized from my home field at Van Nuys, Yehuda from Wings of Rescue. So I asked him about his volunteer organization that saves dogs and cats from death at the pound by airlifting them to new homes in other parts of the country where they're in demand.
My name is Yehuda Netanel. I am the founder of Wings of Rescue. The plane behind me is my personal jet prop based in Van Nuys. And unlike a lot of the people in Van Nuys, this airplane flies lots of dogs many times around the year. The need to rescue dogs from Southern California is very strong because thousands and thousands and thousands of them are being euthanized just because there's no room in the shelters. And we as pilots are in a unique position to make a big difference. We can use our aircraft to fly them out of state to places where they can have a second chance in life. And they always find homes after they land in Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Montana, Idaho. You can combine a flight that rescues the dogs and save their lives with a wonderful mini vacation. The destinations we go to are absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't been, please do. We are a 501c3, so your cost of operating the aircraft for the round trip is tax deductible, and it's a tremendous amount of fun and it's very satisfying. So please talk to me or look up on wingsofrescue.org and help us save some more deserving pups.
So while he's airlifting our furry friends to a new life, there are others right here at the Expo helping people in need of medical attention and boosting the self-esteem of others. I talked to Jim Weaver of Angel Flight West and asked him how his operation works.
Angel Flight West started with a handful of pilots at the Santa Monica Airport back in the fall of 1983. And basically a simple premise, pilots saying, well, there's a need there for people who need to travel for medical treatment. It was at a time when hospitals' clinical trials were on the upswing, and so these clinical trials that patients were able to get medical service provided for them, they were free, but getting to the hospitals were not. And so the primary hospital that Angel Flight connected with at that time, because it started in Santa Monica, was UCLA. And so this handful of pilots said, okay, we'll be the ones to help provide transportation. So it was a simple blend and marriage of a pilot's love for flying and a desire to help people at the same time. And that's a great way for a pilot to use his or her skills and passion for flying.
Well, between Wings of Rescue and Angel Flight West, it looks like the animal kingdom is pretty well covered. So as I meandered through the rows of exhibitor displays, I ran into a really great concept from a guy who, as an engineer, developed his product over the last 18 years and has perfected it into a device that the FAA allows as a modification on most aircraft. He's Mark Corin from Alpha Systems AOA. His angle of attack indicator is something I feel every plane should have on board. So I asked him to tell us more.
So our probe has a solid probe. It's mounted to the wing and it's pinned so that the probe can't move once it's installed in an inspection cover. As you fly through the air, you get ram air and ram air, and as you change your angle of attack, you get more air in this hole, less air in the front hole, and we calibrate it using a computer and software calibrated for your wing or whoever's aircraft it's going in. Once it's calibrated, it will always give you the same amount of angle of attack. As you increase your angle of attack, here we're going to go to VA or cruise. As you increase your angle of attack, your margin of lift over stall decreases to a point where we calibrate at optimum alpha, which is the blue, or the blue donut here. And then once you get past the top of that blue donut, you start getting on the other side of the power curve where you're starting to sink, but you're still flying the aircraft. The turbulent airflow is starting to come up further and further from the backside of the wing. As you get too high, you'll identify a stall deep into the red here, or the triangle there.
Thanks, Mark. Well, some of you may know that I am a flight simulator nut, and there are no shortages of flight sims on display at the Expo. In fact, they kind of run the gamut from this ground-based motion simulator that generates long lines at air shows, to pilot-oriented training simulators like the Cirrus model on the Touch Sim. Chuck Kelly, factory Cirrus instructor, is going to give us the lowdown and maybe even a ride around the pattern.
Well, my name is Chuck Kelly. I'm a factory instructor for Cirrus Aircraft, and we use Fly This Sim simulators in Duluth, Minnesota for training new Cirrus owners. At least it's one of our simulators. What we love about the Cirrus platform on the Fly This Sim is that a pilot can literally take the checklist out of the airplane, bring it to the simulator, and use the checklist to fire it up and fly it and practice procedures just as if they were in the airplane. Fly This Sim has done a great job of recreating the avionics and the virtual avionics as well. So we find it very satisfying to be able to sit down to a new customer and have them become very familiar with how their systems work before they get in the airplane and go fly it. Bringing her in here, getting realigned. We got a bit of a crosswind from the right. We rolled that baby right on. And there you have it.
Excellent job, Skipper.
Thank you very much.
Now, for any one of us who has tried the Bell 206 simulation in Flight Simulator 10 with a joystick, a real set of helicopter controls is awesome to take hold of. But before I hopped in for a wobbly trip around an oil rig, I talked with Chris Ryan of Ryan Aerospace about the benefits of helicopter training with his control system.
So this simulator is it takes up a very small footprint, even though it's a 1-to-1 scale of a real helicopter cockpit, but it has a bunch of fantastic features. For example, it has a force trim release function in the cyclic that you don't normally find in low-cost helicopter simulators. A little rocker switch under the seat will make the pedals move back and forward, so anyone can fit in there. There's a friction control on the collective, and the avionics that have been provided by Precision Flight Controls are state-of-the-art. Whilst the HeliMod Mark II will work on any software because it's a simple USB plug-and-play interface, what we're showcasing here is the HeliMod running on X-Plane 10, and the flight model is from Dreamfoil Creations, and it's the Bell 206 helicopter.
Thanks, Chris. So from here I saw what looked like a sea of simulators, so naturally I needed to find out more. John Gibson of the National Association of Flight Instructors and Mark Whiting, owner of Champaign Aviation, were standing by and support the IMC Club, one of the featured programs here at the Expo, by operating this Instrument Proficiency Center. I asked them just what was going on with these Redbird simulators, and the answer was fascinating.
Well, this is the IMC Club, Instrument Proficiency Center. It's an exercise for pilots to sharpen their skills, or their IFR skills. We're providing 3 scenarios here that pilots can come in and sit and go through. And we have several flight instructors operating 8 simulators here, provided by Redbird and supported by Hartzell, Jepson, and Pilot Edge. Pilots, when they go through the scenario, are connected to Pilot Edge for ATC, and so they go through each exercise and are scored, and a flight instructor goes through with them to guide them through.
Yeah, it's been a great experience so far. So we have everything from instrument pilots that haven't flown instruments in 20 years to instrument student pilots to people that are pretty proficient in current and just want to take a simulated flight. And we have 3 scenarios. So the first scenario starts off, it's an ILS into Long Beach, California, and 1,000-foot ceilings, and they get more complex from there. So we can take even somebody that's very rusty and walk them through the basic approach, or you can take a more proficient pilot and still give them quite a bit of a challenge on the more complex approaches.
We started this event this year at AirVenture, the Instrument Proficiency Center, and next year we're going to bring it back. And the plan is to expand it from just IFR skills to also include stick and rudder skills in an Instrument Proficiency Center at AirVenture. So this year we ran just over 2,000 folks through the system at AirVenture, and this is our first effort at taking it sort of on the road.
So from there I sought out Jerry Gregoire, founder and chief pilot of Redbird Flight Simulations, and we talked about the simulators used in this IFR proficiency event.
Well, these simulators are set up to fly certain scenarios, and it's using a technology called Redbird Trace technology, which not only coaches the pilot through, but then can create all of the conditions that the scenario wants and give real-time feedback back to the pilot. Now, these pilots you see behind me flying with the headsets on are actually talking to Pilot Edge controllers, and who are acting as ATC, and they are starting in a specific spot and flying 3 different approaches at varying levels of difficulty, right down to minimum. So, but all of these scenarios are predefined and set up. So you come in, you sit down with an instructor, you fly the approaches and go through the instruction and you get your sign-off.
Where do you see the future of simulation in this sort of scenario?
The future of simulation. Well, I think actually in many oddball ways, simulation and simulation technology is going to be a key part of revitalizing general aviation, just because its ability to deliver very safe, very low cost, very broad flight training that allows you to go to the airplane. And we're already looking at flight simulator mentors, essentially, where intelligence that can move from the simulator for training and go to the cockpit with you. to help you with your flight. So it's a pretty interesting future, and it's coming faster than you think.
Thank you, Jerry. It's happening more often that when you look skyward, you don't always see manned airplanes. In fact, this quadcopter, and other drones as they are sometimes called, are at the center of some controversy with the FAA, and this subject was heavily discussed at the Expo. So what is the FAA position on UAS, or unmanned aerial systems? I stopped in at the seminar where Brad Hayden of Robotic Skies and Flying Magazine's own Steve Pope were sharing insight.
Well, the FAA has incrementally been ratcheting up the penalties, and so they've come out saying, well, you must be a private pilot, and then if you do something with a UAV that is in violation of regulation, you are in danger of losing your private pilot privileges, and you'll actually get your certificate yanked for something you do with a UAV. They came out this week with a statement saying if you fly a UAV over a larger stadium that's occupied with people, you'll face jail time. So they're cracking down, they're crafting the regulations. But as pilots, and we're thinking we're out there flying, and there is the potential that someone's going to, a rogue operator is going to be flying a quadricopter, a large one, up at a place where, where we could be, and there's that danger. What does the future hold, though, for UAV operations in civilian airspace? What can we expect in the future? Will we have UAVs mixing in the airspace that we fly with today? Will they have sense and avoid technology? Will they have ADS-B on board? How will that all work?
I think you just said everything. I think, yes, they will be flying. And yes, they will certainly have ADS-B on board. They will be participating into the air traffic management network. What's going to be very interesting, and if you want a preview of what it is going to look like, there's a document out there called the FAA Concept of Operations for UAS, and it was put out in 2012. The FAA basically did the study to determine, okay, how would these things fit and how will they fly within our airspace?
When it comes to remote control vehicles, I didn't expect to see this ingenious tug from AC Air Technology. These tank-like tugs can tow an aircraft up to 20,000 pounds and has an operating time of up to 2 hours on the charge. Pretty awesome. Well, we'll be right back with some new product announcements. So what would a show be without new product offerings to talk about? So I went to the new product press conference to get fully briefed.
My name is Mike Koblik. The name of the company is ElectroAir. We manufacture electronic ignition systems for certified aircraft. We are the first fully electronic ignition system that's been certified for piston aircraft. We have systems that have been certified for both 4- and 6-cylinder applications, Lycoming and Continental. The presentation that Bob has up here is our 6-cylinder system for, again, 540 Lycomings and the family of 6-cylinder Continental engines, including the 360, the 470, 520, and 550 applications. The big announcement that we have for here is that we recently received our STC for the Continental 550 engine applications on a whole range of aircraft, including the Cessnas, the STC conversion Cessnas, the Beechcraft line, Barons, Bonanzas, all of that, Cirrus as well, and a variety of other aircraft. The electronic ignition system, the upshot of it is it's changing one of the magnetos, which is a fairly old technology, been around since realistically what we use today in aircraft. The magneto technology has been around since the 40s, 50s, 60s, in that time frame with some minor modifications. The benefit for using an electronic ignition system by having what we call a high energy tuned electronic ignition system is fuel economy and a better performing engine.
My name is Ross Bishop. I'm the president of Brightline Bags. I'm the founder and inventor of the Brightline Bags modular bag system. Anybody familiar with Brightline Bags? Show of hands. Yeah. So we do have a new product announcement in the sense that we've improved what we do and we've reformulated what we do to make the bag more versatile. We've kind of realized some of the aspects of what we do can be improved to really address the fundamental nature of the bag, which is simply to change it from being what it was originally, which was two pieces. There was a front bag and a rear bag, and you could separate the two pieces and carry just the front part of the bag if you wanted to. And we realized that we could make the front end cap be a separate piece and the rear end cap be a separate piece. And now there's 4 pieces, and so all of our bags now are made up of just center sections and end caps. And what this lets you do is multiply the versatility. So this bag now is actually 4 separate bags in one. This is our most popular, our most common flight bag model called the B7 Flight. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to move this over here a little bit. The front part of the bag is designed to hold 2 headsets. So you can carry two headsets of any kind will fit inside, and then the rear portion of the bag is designed to hold all your flight documents. So you have 2 separate modules. Well, if it's a VFR day, you don't need all your flight documents. All you really need is your headset and the basic stuff. So I want to carry just the front part. Now keep in mind too that all of these small pockets on the front are kind of the hub of the system, because it's all the cords and cables and chargers and batteries and flashlights and fuel testers and all the little things that otherwise disappear in the bottom of your bag. Is having all that organized here is a big part of what this is about. Well, if it's a VFR day, I can actually zip the bag in half. And this is the part that has the headsets. This is the part that has all the flight documents, and I don't need this. Well, one bad part is that I would have just a half of a separation zipper here. So the rear panel of this also comes off. So this separate panel now can be zipped onto the back of, bear with me. So now I can zip this right onto here and protect the separation zipper, complete the bag, and I still have a place where my iPad slips, so the iPad fits in here. And then also, I have a slip pocket here, but if I untuck it, I have a place where the tubes of my folding cart or my suitcase can fit through here, and I can slip this onto my suitcase. So the versatility is the basic thing that we're really kind of improving as we go along. We're over in booth 525. Come on by, ask questions, play with the bags, let us show you what we have. And I've got some brochures here if anybody wants.
My name is Teresa Demers, and I am the Executive Vice President of Sales, Marketing, and Customer Support for Lightspeed Aviation. And I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about our new headset that we call Zulu PFX. I have one here in my hand, and for those of you who are familiar with the Lightspeed brand, you know that we make active noise reduction headsets, and we've been doing that for about 18 years, and just try to continue to innovate around what pilots' needs are and the flying experience. And so right now we have 3 models in our line. We have our Sierra, our Zulu 2, which has really been the flagship for a number of years, and then now Zulu PFX is the brand new one. And so what is different about this, or what is the story to tell, right? In a nutshell, what we say is that it's the quietest aviation headset and now also the most intelligent. And so it's really the first of a new generation of headsets that has both some very innovative quieting technologies that I'll talk just a little bit about, but it also has the first ever smart technologies built into a headset. And so by the smart technologies, I'll start with those. One of them is that it now has microphones that are on the outsides of the ear cups that are listening in the environment, and the CPU, the box that contains the batteries, is also a miniature computer. And it is doing calculations at over 1 million times a second that are listening and learning and adapting to the noise environment that the headset is in and making continuous adjustments based on that. So it creates a deeper and broader range of frequency cancellation, but it's that learning and adapting part that's really new. And the other thing that is the part of the smart technologies of it is that it's firmware upgradable. So now inside the battery box, there's a micro USB port that enables you to plug that in. We provide the cable, but you plug that in and get a download from Lightspeed. And so as technology evolves and as we create new features, there'll be the headset will evolve with the technology as it goes. So that's really a huge breakthrough for this category. The things that make it personal, there's the personalized technologies too, and one of them is, we call it acoustic response mapping. And you push a button on the headset after you've put it on and turned it on, and it'll play a tone that is almost like sonar, and it creates it maps what we call the unique auditory landscape of your ear. So the volume of your ear inside the ear cup, whether you're wearing glasses or a hat, all of that changes it. It maps that. And from that point on, everything that the headset delivers, whether it's the A&Rs, the comms, the music, whatever, is all specifically tailored to you and your ears and that day.
Hi, my name is Bill Moffat. I'm the president of NavWorks Incorporated. We make ADSB equipment, specifically Universal Access Transceiver or UAT technology. We're located in booth 512 if you want to come by and see our ADSB solution. This is for, of course, the 2020 mandate. The product that we're announcing today is a product that we've had to develop alongside our UAT transceiver. It's a requirement that the government put on later, about 2 years ago, onto the mandate itself. And that requirement is for ADSB boxes to connect to the existing transponder in the aircraft. So our device today is referred to as the Transmon, or short for transponder monitor. And what this device does is it clips over your existing transponder coax cable, and it picks up the squawk code and the ident and all those things that the transponder outputs, and then feeds that information into our UAT transceiver, and that all together meets the mandates.
C&D Associates has designed a new heating system for general aviation aircraft. Just about all twin-engine airplanes have combustion heaters, and we're well known for our combustion heaters. But this previous year, we've gotten involved in air conditioning systems. And we recognized a problem in the field where most add-on air conditioners had a complete system. Ducting, compressors, pull it off the engine on the twin engine. So C&D, just like they did with their combustion heaters, designed a better system. And we've come up with an air conditioner, the first one being installed in a Beech Baron, that is integrated into the heating system. So it allows distribution of the air conditioning throughout the aircraft through the heating system ducting. So we're able to minimize the weight, and we've located the air conditioning under the floor of the baggage area in the twin Baron series.
Hi, my name is Andrea Davidson. I'm with a company called Pro Tool Warehouse, and we have a family of websites. It's all online. You can buy tools from any different of the websites we have. Today we're showing our torque products, which is Pro Torque Tools. We have a brand new electronic wrench. It's steel handle, steel wrench. It's all electronic. You turn it on and it will measure the angle and the torque of anything you do, specialized for the plane industry, mechanics, anything that has to have specific torque, and also be able to read it. When you get to the torque value, it will read yellow and then green. But when you get to the torque value, the lights go on, it beeps. It's one of the fastest and most accurate torque wrenches around. It's made by CDI, which is actually Snap-on Industrial Brands. We have 4 different sizes. It goes inch pounds, foot pounds, from actually 1 foot to 600 foot pounds. So it can do a lot of different tasks for you.
All right, for those who don't know what or who Shaden is, Shaden Eyewear is a very fine aviation eyewear line. I actually started the company back in 1999. I began flying in 98, and I needed eyewear that was more comfortable with a headset on, because when you put a headset on, as anybody knows that flies, it can become quite uncomfortable after an hour or so of flying when you have your temples from your eyewear digging into the back of your head. So We designed eyewear that has a very, very thin temple so that can be slid on and off while you are flying without having to worry about having to take your headset on and off at the same time. So this is a brand new frame that we have. I know it looks similar to the one I'm wearing. This is called the C130. It's a little deeper top to bottom, which allows for basically a larger, heavier prescription, top to bottom, for those who need a progressive prescription. All of our eyewear comes with all of our titanium framed eyewear, which all of our metals are titanium. They actually come with a beautiful 8-layer non-polarized mineral glass lens. Everything that we do is handmade in Japan. The Japanese, as many people know, are some of the finest in eyewear manufacturing in the world. And so everything that we get made is handmade over there. And if you have a chance to come by our booth or take a look, you'll see the fine quality of the eyewear and how beautifully this stuff is built. When I started flying, I noticed that my eyes were sensitive to the light, but also at the same time, my lenses were too dark to see the charts that were laying on my thigh or my lap. So I'd constantly have to lift up my glasses on and off, and then I'm breaking the seal from my headset, hence the discomfort. So I came up with this design, which is a flip-up design, so that you can see your charts, see everything clearly, and then when you need to look out for traffic or look for anything else, you can simply flip the lens down, you've got your lens on, and then we simply flip the lens up. So on this one, you won't have to take them on and off with your headset. You just leave them on and lens on, lens off. And it's simply a spring-loaded hinge with a magnet. It's that simple in order to flip them up and get them out of the way. So you'll never see a pair of glasses that has this type of engineering and function.
Hi, my name's Gary Reeves. I'm a 5,000-hour ATP and master flight instructor. Out of 97,000 flight instructors in the U.S., California only has about 15. I started a nonprofit organization about 2 years ago called the Pilot Safety Institute, or pilotsafety.org, with the goal of keeping little airplanes off the evening news. About 90% of small airplane crashes involve either running out of gas, flying into known bad weather, or making other simple to fix bad decisions. So the Pilot Safety Institute provides free and low-cost FAA safety classes to about 5,000 people a year, and we do webinars and live classes. We're here at the Aviation Expo teaching 3 times. It's a great show, and in response to requests, we've actually created a DVD series. All of our classes, like night flying, and all of our DVDs are over 90 minutes with a master instructor. And what makes our DVDs different is it's not anything ever found in private pilot or even commercial or airline training. It's not anything covered on the check ride. This is 13 years of real world experience, real life tips and tricks, and we'll talk about accidents, and we'll talk about some real life experiences I've had, and it absolutely makes pilots safer, and it funds all of our free programs. All the money goes back to the nonprofit. So we have night flying, we have mountain flying, we have a DVD surviving in-flight fires and engine failures. I've had both, so you'll get from real personal experience. We even have a set of all 6. Each DVD is only $19, or you can have all 6 for $99. They're available on our website at pilotsafety.org, and 100% of that money goes back to funding all of the free materials and trainings we do.
I love new stuff. So now I was remembering the CTLS talk I had a little while ago and the description of the new Garmin 796 touchscreen panel-mounted GPS. So I visited the Garmin booth to find out more. And as an added bonus, I found out about their new wearable action camera, the Verb. Jessica filled me in.
Our new touchscreen technology on our 796, for example, so we've taken the standard GPS 496 with the dedicated control buttons, and we've turned everything into touchscreen technology, which is really makes it much easier to navigate and find your information faster. We even have features like 3D synthetic vision terrain, Just kind of as an added bonus to your flying, especially when you're in and around terrain like down here in Palm Springs. Also, what we're showcasing goes much farther than just beyond avionics. We're showcasing our latest Verb HD action camera, which has a dedicated viewfinder at the very top and really is tailored to aviation applications. For example, you can interface it with our D2 pilot watch, so you can start and stop recording and also take photos right from your watch. So if you want to remotely mount Verb, for example, behind you while you're flying, you can easily still start and stop your video, take photos, or capture all of those really exciting memories on camera.
Thanks, Jessica. Now I'll be back in a minute to talk about the educational content of this expo, so stick around. You know, although the exhibitors have been highly informative, this expo offers so much more. The Flying Magazine folks made sure that this would be a total learning experience, so the seminars here are rich with valuable and relevant topics, from avoiding NORAD interceptions to safety in all its forms, and I'll talk about that later, to the theme of the keynote address, disruptive technologies.
So today's panel is on disruptive technology, and disruptive technology is one of my favorite topics because the very most interesting things happening in aviation today and happening in aviation over its history have been technologies that are disruptive. The members of today's panel are aviation experts and innovators who each made a big mark upon the aviation world by introducing products and ideas that change the way that we fly and the way we think about flying.
With NavCom, flight displays, autopilot, a lot of that sensor technology that we were talking about, you get all that for, approaching $10,000 or less. And for a non-certified aircraft, that's tremendous. And you look at, on the other end of the spectrum, if you wanted to have a real nice flight display system for a King Air, for example, you'd probably be spending upwards of $350,000 for comparable technology.
Yeah, we like the $10,000 figure.
Different class of aircraft, obviously, but it's an incredible disparity there.
If we don't cannibalize our own product, somebody's going to come and cannibalize it for us, and so they've done a great job with that. And companies that last a long time do that. And the companies that don't, which are most companies, get caught by disruptive technologies coming, inexpensive technologies coming from below.
We saw a need, and that need really emerged with the iPhone, or really we saw an opportunity, right? The opportunity was there's a new platform, and it gives us the ability to do a number of tasks that we as pilots would have gone to various resources to do in one application. And how that becomes ultimately disruptive is the value ends up being so great to the end user that it causes this rapid adoption. Right. And so I was looking at this question, thinking, is it intentional or accidental? I think it's mostly intentional in that you are creating something out of these components. And as Jerry said, they're typically low cost at the beginning. And so large companies often look at the margin on that product or the amount of revenue they can produce from it, and they go, well, we don't really want to invest in that because we're a multi-billion-dollar company, and that's only going to be a couple $100,000, and all their culture and their processes of the organization are oriented against that, right? So if someone small from below sees these things and they look at $100,000 like we did and say, oh my God, that's an incredible amount of revenue, we have zero. So,
sounds like a lot to me too.
So, all of a sudden, that comes into existence, and then you end up providing such a cost advantage over what works traditionally that the pace of adoption just explodes, and the big companies often looking at this going, well, how did this go from nothing to something enormous? And you see that in industry after industry.
Well, going back many years, the kind of aircraft, the affordable end of aviation, has been basically outside of the regulatory environment to a significant extent. As you mentioned, you and I met in the days of the ultralight aircraft, which continue to exist. And in the early 80s, FAA largely let go of that entire class, and it exists today in only the single-seat versions, but no pilot's license is necessary, no N numbers are necessary, no medical is necessary, and the aircraft can be built fully ready to fly and sold to a customer, which seems almost outrageous, and yet when you look back on it now, more than 30 years ago, the accident rate is actually quite good. It had a few rough years, like
I would say it had a few extremely rough years.
Yes, but that's true in most activities where there's something new. It is disruptive, so we try to avoid the word accidental results. Today, indeed, I think we largely have like it. But so we were kind of already there when FAA came along and said, well, we need to do something about the two-seat versions of these ultralight aircraft, which were allowed to fly that way just as training vehicles, which was obviously necessary to get
although that was
quality training.
It was widely abused, that privilege.
It was, but it was all new terrain, so it was the Wild West of aviation for a while, but that calmed down significantly, and today it operates largely, basically under the radar. You don't even see it, and that's because there are not a lot of accidents anymore, so it did finally prove itself. So there we were, happy in our little fields, flying our little airplanes, and along came FAA, the big bad policeman in the air, and said, we've got to do something about you. And one thing led to another. It took a period of years, actually, before FAA got to this point. But they said, okay, look, we're going to let industry write the rules on how these aircraft are approved and are shown to be safe aircraft. And they didn't know how to do that. So they said, why don't you people do that? And so a bunch of, mostly people volunteering their time over a period of years, more than 10 years ago, the ASTM process started. And today that is accepted widely in the USA, but not just in the USA. This has gone global. These are being applied, these standards are being applied in country after country, and that is a complete game changer on its own, but it has also resulted in a constant stream of disruptive technology in that new aircraft could come to market. More than 130 new models were introduced to the market in less than 10 years. That's more than one new model every month. Nothing like that in aviation history worldwide.
So I visited as many of the seminars as I could and found some insight that I'll keep with me forever, like how to handle spins and upset attitudes. Judy Phelps, Master CFI, was excellent at straightening us out.
Any questions so far? Good. Elevator. So back to his question, he says, well, why would you not put the elevator forward prematurely to break the stall? Because it doesn't. So when you're spinning, if you put the elevator forward prematurely, what happens is the nose of your airplane drops closer to the spin axis and the rate of rotation increases. So you want to, make sure you're holding it all the way back, or if you don't have the yoke or the stick all the way back and you're spinning, put it there, because that can actually be aggravating the situation. Weight and balance plays a part in spin recovery, right? So that's one of the, besides all the other reasons we do weight and balance, but we also want to be able to recover from the stall. And if you get into a stall spin situation and the weight and balance is aft, you may not be able to recover from the spin. This is, remember we talked about the airplane can stall and spin, any airspeed, any altitude, right? So have a good look at this one right here. So we're going to be turning here, just like we were turning base to final. Now watch what's going to happen here. Step on the left rudder, pull the stick back. We're kind of talking about. All the other spins we've done that you've seen so far, the airplane's been slow, the nose has been up higher. That spin right there, we were going probably about 80 miles an hour in a descending turn. And all you have to do is step on the rudder and pull back on the stick, and the airplane snaps right off into a spin. And there's absolutely no warning. I mean, it happens really fast. And this is the kind of situation you could get yourself into. You're flying in the traffic pattern, right? Maybe it's really windy. Maybe you've overshot base to final. It's really windy. You don't want to get turned. You think the wind's going to turn you over. So what do? You step on the rudder to turn the airplane, to skid it. You're skidding, right? So if you do that, what's going to happen to the nose of the airplane? It's going to start dropping down. You're going to start seeing the ground. What's the reaction? Pull back. So what does it take to make an airplane spin? We step on the rudder and we pull the stick back. or you can pull the stick back and start the stuff off the motor. But if you skid the airplane and you stall the airplane, it will spin.
So as a student pilot myself, I'm learning the ways of the paper chart and slide rule flight planning, but there's nothing like having all the paperwork put on steroids with the new iPad apps that are constantly being updated and improved. So I sat in on an extremely informative talk on the use of iPads in the cockpit with Ed Valdez.
Right now it's showing us our position. There's blue dots in position. Sometimes it's a dot, sometimes it's a little airplane. And the accuracy, I think I took the accuracy out because I like this other data. And then this shows the flight plan from the center of the airport, and then the magenta line for the flight plan as it spreads out. Over here is recents, so you have your favorites and then you have your recents flight plans. So if you haven't saved one, but you did a flight, you can go to that location also. Here is the on the map, and this I really like this one about the newest updates. You can send your flight plan. There's your flight plan up there, input it, and then you can send it to other iPads so that if you make a change, you don't have to make the change in other iPads. One of the airplanes I fly, we have one each on the control wheel and one in the glare shield. A mini up here and two each regular down here. And when we make a change or we go direct or whatever, we just hit that it's a page right under here. It opens up this page, it says send to. You can either send it to, in this case, Air TFO1 or Air TFO3, which is the other two iPads. This is through ForeFlight and Stratus. So the Stratus external GPS gives you that capability.
I can't wait to get off the paper charts and onto the touchscreen, not to mention the GPS and ADS-B assistance. What a way to find myself, and some traffic in my vicinity. Well, as safety is concerned, there are two icons in the flight training arena. I can't think of any pilot who hasn't at some time watched a King School's video, and I was privileged to be able to meet John and Martha at the hangar talk they gave on risk management. They tell a chilling story of how they became born-again pilots after nearly killing themselves when small problems started to multiply during a routine flight. The result was a new way of managing risk when planning a flight and while in the air. This is information every pilot should have in mind.
And we had the landing gear down this whole time because we didn't know what the speed of the aircraft was. We wanted to keep it under control. We had no airspeed indicator. And I can tell you when it pulled the power back, that airplane was ready to land instantly, almost instantly. The main wheels touched the snow, and we rolled for about 75 feet. And then at that moment, when it fell through the ice, I began my all-time record short field landing. Because it went on up on its nose, went over here to wind, and came back down. Now, if you remember a Cessna 210, the landing gear retracts rearward. And in order to make room for the landing gear, oh, thank you, there's a baggage compartment, it's elevated. And we had our luggage up on that baggage compartment, and of course, we were not smart enough to tie it down. And so therefore, this luggage came forward and jammed us up against the panel of the aircraft. So this next conversation takes place with our faces jammed up against the panel of the aircraft. And Martha says to me, "John, I'm okay. I'm okay. I hit my nose on the panel of the aircraft. I've got a bloody nose, but I'm okay." And I look up and I see a big hole in the windshield. And I said, "No, you know, you've got more than a bloody nose. Your head hit the windshield." She says, "No, no, no. I just hit my nose on the panel of the aircraft. I've got a bloody nose, but I'm okay." And I reach over and I felt her back, and there was blood all the way down her back. And I said to her, "Well, you've got something a lot more serious than a bloody nose." Now at this point, you could hear things of fuel moving around and things sizzling on the engine. So I said to Martha, "But why don't we carry on the rest of this conversation outside the aircraft?" And I said to her, "I've got this luggage jamming me up against the panel of the aircraft. I can't reach my door handle. Could you reach your door handle and we'll go out your side?" She says, "Well, I got this luggage jamming me up against the panel of the aircraft. I can't reach my door handle either." So it took me about, excuse me, it took me about 15 minutes I don't think it's going to help. I'll feel better. Took me about 15 minutes to rearrange that luggage, open my door. And I got out in front of the airplane, and there was this long string of trash, wrenches, oil can openers, oil rings, all strung out in front of the aircraft. And I thought, well, I'll be darned. Someone crashed before we did. And of course, what had happened is we had a toolbox back in the back of the aircraft. That toolbox had come forward, hit Martha about the head and shoulders, and gone out through the windshield. That was all that junk that we had in the back of the airplane. I got around to the right side, and I opened Martha's door. And at that point, I realized, for the first time in my life, how incredibly dumb allegedly bright people can be. Because what had happened, when that toolbox went forward and hit Martha on the head, it sprayed her blood over every ounce, every inch of that aircraft. There's blood on the ceiling, blood on the panel, blood on the sidewalls. The whole aircraft was just sprayed with Martha's blood. And I thought to myself, you idiot, you absolute idiot, how dare you take such an incredible risk with the most precious thing in the world.
The R in PURE stands for reality, and reality simply means deal with things as they really are, not the way you planned them to be. When we took this flight in the 210, we planned the flight, of course, with a perfectly working aircraft, everything working the way it was supposed to. Reality was different than that, and we just totally ignored reality. We just kept right on going as if absolutely nothing had changed. We needed to deal with things as they were, not the way we had planned them to be. So recognizing reality means that when things change, we change our plan. We have a need to change our plan.
Well, I've talked a lot about airplanes and aviation, but one of the things I find really neat about this show is that there's something for spouses and family to enjoy. So in addition to all things aviation, there were some hidden gems at the show. And I must say, I didn't expect to find an art gallery here, but the story of Leslie Jean Porter's journey into art, not to mention the subject matter, was something I had to talk with her about.
And it's a huge warehouse that we've just transformed into a pilot lounge for the Thermal Air Show and the Aviation Expo and the Palm Springs Air Museum. All this aviation is happening now, so we just created in our gallery a pilot lounge. And we have some beautiful things, postcards and photography of clouds and some of my paintings. These paintings is a collection of 60 pieces that are all very different. They're from a love story that I had, and it made me feel very good to paint and to be able to create all these different scenes.
Well, it's getting close to quitting time, and as I head out for one last look at all the airplanes before their parade back to the airport, I had a chance to talk to a few more pilots who have small aircraft that are big on features.
Hi, I'm Burrow Sanders, owner of Free Flight Composites from Falcon, Colorado. And we help individuals build aircrafts like the one here. And designed to be a high-performance, two-seat sport plane. It's also very good for cross-country travel. It'll travel at 260 miles an hour on almost 30 miles to the gallon.
What are some of the main building points to a plane like this? What makes it different from, say, like a Long Easy or a Very Easy?
It's very similar to a Long Easy or Very Easy, but this particular design uses carbon in the wings and spars, so it has a stiffer airframe and is better suited for aerobatics. And it also has a fully retractable landing gear, which improves the efficiency for in-flight. And it also has a more sporty type handling than a Very Easy or a Long Easy.
Are there differences in engine configuration that makes this unique?
Yes, this one is a design will accept a larger engine, in this case a 6-cylinder Lycoming of 280 horsepower. The avionics in this aircraft are all solid state modern. electronic flight information systems, engine monitoring systems, as well as navigation systems are all state-of-the-art and coupled to very powerful autopilot. And it allows the aircraft to be flown in IFR conditions, and which really raises the utility of the aircraft.
My name's Tom Binsfeld from California Sea Ray, out here in Palm Springs with the Progressive Aerodyne two-place amphibian, the Sea Ray. It's a light sport amphibian and recently certified and available for purchase.
What are some of the special features of this aircraft?
Well, she's just a terrific seaplane. She'll get off the water gross weight at 400 feet. Gentle stall characteristics, just a beautifully handling aircraft.
And some of the surprises are in the cockpit once you get in there, isn't that so?
She's full, yep. Advanced 5500 series avionics, and with the Garmin 796, just well equipped.
Is that standard equipment on this airplane?
Standard equipment, yeah. This is a Sea Ray Elite, which has practically every option available from the factory.
So this is the Glasair Sportsman. And to really understand a sportsman, you have to understand that the DNA of the airplane, the heart of the airplane, is a float plane. It was originally designed to be a float plane. It's got a steel safety roll cage inside that protects the occupants and absorbs shocks. And the airplane not only is a great float plane, but it also has versatility in terms of the landing gear. So you can change landing gear configurations easily. The airplane can be a tail dragger, it can be a trike, or it can be a float plane. And oftentimes owners cycle through those configurations depending on what they're looking for. A civilized traveler, a backcountry bush plane on 31-inch bush wheels, or a terrific airplane on Claymar floats that gets off the water in 12 seconds. So the Sportsman is an experimental amateur built airplane, which means that normally people build them from a kit. Most of our airplanes are built at the Arlington factory by people who engage in the 2 Weeks to Taxi program. And 2 Weeks to Taxi is unique in the industry. People come to Arlington, they take delivery of their kit, they build the kit under the supervision of people who are masters at building these airplanes. And when they're finished doing their 51%, the airplane gets an airworthiness certificate. And then we finish up the airplane. You know, in the kit built industry, you always hear people saying, you know, I'm 90% done with 90% to go. And we do that last 90%, and we do it fairly promptly so that the owner gets to pick up their beautiful airplane and actually fly it. So this one, for example, has advanced flight systems. It's got a Garmin 650. It's got dual ADAHRS systems. They're fully independent of each other. And so it's a terrific IFR platform, actually. So when we flew this airplane to Oshkosh, we took it up to 17,500 feet. It was still climbing 300 feet a minute. We were able to get over the weather and get about 135 knots true airspeed with the diesel engine. At 60% power, this is about an 1,100-mile airplane. So a person can go a long way or go halfway a long way and halfway back without having to refuel the airplane, which is a pretty significant advantage to the diesel engine.
So before I go, I would like to thank all the folks at Flying Magazine, Lift Event Management, and the Abby Agency for working hard to produce a first-rate exposition. And I would also like to thank them for their hospitality and help. So until next time, I'm Tom Rinker saying so long from Aviation Audio Video on the Road, and as always, keep looking up.